guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're doing my March audiobook wrap-up. So these are going to be all the books that I listened to via audiobook this month. My physical reading wrap-up was posted yesterday. I'll put that in the little cards up here so you can click that little eye if you want to watch that one first to find out what books I physically read or read via ebook. But these are all the books that I just listened to in March. So I listened to 8 audiobooks for the month of March, slightly above my average. Usually I listen to like 6 to 10, so it's kind of like smack in the middle there. I listened to quite a few things that were pretty good, some things better than others, and I did finish a nonfiction this month as well, so we're going to talk about that first. I'm going to talk about this nonfiction book first because I feel like most of you guys won't be interested in it, but I do want to mention it because I listened to it and I loved it and I think it might be beneficial for some of you. So first up, I listened to Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza. I've actually been listening to this over the course of like 2 months, maybe 3. I kind of listen to like half an hour here, hour there, whatever. I use it just as like my mental health journey. So this is kind of like a self-help style book. It has a little bit of quantum physics, new age thinking to it. Joe Dispenza is a very popular author in like certain categories. So basically what this book is about is he is talking about the science behind your thoughts and your brain and the way you think, and how the way you think and the thoughts you think will actually secrete certain chemicals that will make you become addicted to having those thoughts. So if you are like an anxious type person, you think a lot of negative thoughts, maybe mostly unconsciously, your brain and your body actually become addicted to that feeling if you do it for an extended amount of time. And if your brain secretes enough chemicals to become addicted, you will actually seek out that feeling. So you will actually look for things that give you that feeling in a negative way without realizing it. And you can also do this with happiness and joy, but you have to retrain your brain into thinking new thoughts to create a new chemical to become addicted to. And it is fascinating. It is super scientific, very in-depth. It has helped me tremendously. I already knew this to a certain extent, but the way that he explains it is very thorough. If you are younger, this might be a little bit hard to grasp because I've listened to a lot of positive thinking, change your brain, quantum physics type of books, so I'm familiar with this. But if you are not and you are brand new to that form of thinking, this might not be the best first book to start you off with. It might just like blow your brain apart. But Joe Dispenza has written a lot of books. This one is super helpful. Also just about training your brain to look for positive things and be a happier, more joyful person and not let your circumstances determine how your life goes. So very helpful, amazing, talks a lot about anxiety. I loved it. It was really good. I'm glad I finally finished it. The only downside to this one was I wish that the author read the book because I've listened to his speeches and his videos on YouTube, and he has an amazing, powerful speaking voice. He even does his own meditations, and it's super, super amazing, and he didn't narrate it, and that was a real big bummer, and it took me like an hour to kind of get over that fact in my head. But I wound up giving this one 4 stars as far as an audiobook goes. So we're going to talk about the first book that I listened to in March, which was Red Rising by Pierce Brown, narrated by Gerard, Reynolds, Tim. I think I'm saying that right. I finally got into this. I did this as a buddy read with my friend Brianna over at Rainy Days and Stormy Nights. I'll link her down below in the description if you guys want to check out her channel. But I listened to this one, of course, via audiobook. This is classified as like a sci-fi dystopian set in Mars. But I feel like everybody's description of this book is doing it a severe injustice because the sci-fi aspect is very minimal in my opinion, and maybe that's because I like sci-fi, but Brianna agreed with me. We thought it was going to be a lot more like spaceships and laser guns and all that stuff, and it really wasn't. It honestly, the most it reminded me of was the Hunger Games. There is a school setting in here and a competition that is just brutal. This is an adult book. It is about teenagers, but it is an adult book. There are definitely intense, graphic, violent scenes, a little bit of sexual content. I really didn't think that was very intense, but there were definitely like intense, brutal scenes in here. There were so many twists and turns. It was so fast paced. This was about our lead character, Darrow, and he is on the planet of Mars, so we're set in the future. We're trying to colonize Mars, and Darrow is kind of a lower class citizen called a Red. There are different rankings of citizens based on color, and he is classified as a Red, and he's a diver, and like he's one that's trying to go in and make Mars habitable while other people kind of let everybody else do the work. And so he has this life on Mars, and he grew up a certain way, and they call him a hell diver because he has to do all these dangerous things with the other hell divers to kind of check and mine for certain things and check if Mars is inhabitable. And then something happens that changes everything, and he basically has to become something else. And so this is just absolutely amazing. It reminded me so much of the Hunger Games in the best way possible. If you love the Hunger Games and you were looking for something else, like, they're obviously very different, but it gave me some of those brutal, like, fight to the death kind of vibes, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was humorous. I thought it had many twists and turns. There would be time when I'd be like cooking and listening to it, and then I would just stop and like stand and like look at my husband and be like, and I just couldn't believe how many times, I just couldn't believe how often I was shocked by the scenes, like not just the brutalness, but like the intelligence of the way that the scenes were gone about and the way that people interacted and the way that things happened. Oh my God, I can't wait to go into the next book. I loved this so much. I'm really sad that I didn't do a reading vlog about this series because I thought it was going to take me longer to get through. It was like a 16-hour audiobook, and I thought that I was going to like it, but I didn't think I was going to necessarily like be a new favorite, and it totally is. It totally is a new favorite. I love it so much. Cannot wait. I'm really bummed because the next two I can get on audiobook, but then the last two I can't, and I'm not sure if the last two are like set in the future or what, but I really want to try and find the audiobooks if I can because I loved his narration style. It's Scottish, I think, and it's very different from anything else I've listened to. It kind of throws you off at first, so hang in there. You kind of get used to it. I listen to most of my audiobooks at like 1.4 or 1.8 speed in between there. I think I did this one at 1.6, which was perfect. I loved it, but it is adult, so keep that in mind. If you don't like sci-fi, you might not like it, but the sci-fi aspects are very minimal. I don't know. I thought this was amazing, and I can't wait. I cannot wait for book 2. Next up, we're going to talk about my reread for the month, and that was Tell Me Something Real by Calla Devlin. This book is narrated by Rebekkah Ross. So I just slipped this book in here. I think I listened to it, the entirety of this book, in a day. This is something that I read 2 years ago and really loved. I had no idea what this was going into it 2 years ago. I just thought the cover was beautiful, and I thought that someone had mentioned it on YouTube, but then I couldn't find who I thought that it was. But this is, I don't really know how to classify it because it's not really a thriller, and it's not just a contemporary, but it's not necessarily a mystery, but it's kind of a mix of all of those things. This is about 3 young girls that are living in Southern California with their parents, and their mom has cancer, and they have to follow her to do these kind of illegal treatments in Tijuana. They go to Tijuana because they can legally do these treatments here involving apricot seeds and for her cancer, and it's about like their struggles and their growing up, but then there's like a mystery / twisty thing that happens in here. This is very character driven. This is very emotionally charged, which I normally don't like, but this is written so well, and you fall in love with the characters so quickly. I think I read this book in a day, and then I listened to it in a day this year. The audiobook wasn't my favorite ever. I definitely preferred reading it, but I still really enjoyed it because I knew the story already. It's definitely hard-hitting, so trigger warnings for cancer and just like hardships and things like that. But it also has aspects that might kind of make up for that if it does bother you. I don't know how to explain it. This is a super underrated contemporary / literary fiction, maybe? I don't know. I really loved it. This is a young adult book. I can't wait to read her other book because it has kind of the same feel to it. I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember what it's called exactly, but I really enjoyed this. It's one of my favorite like contemporary books, and you guys know that I'm super picky about contemporary. I just love the girls in here, and I fall in love with them, and then we get new characters, and then we get a twist, and it's so good. This one's like 4.5 stars for me. I really enjoy it for some unknown reason because it has all the things that I don't like, but I think it's just that the writing style is excellent. So highly recommend. Next up, I read 2 more of the Narnia books. I'm super sad I didn't get to the last one because I'm taking forever with this reread, but I reread The Voyage of the Dawn Treader via audiobook and The Silver Chair via audiobook. This one is narrated by Derek Jacobi, and this one is narrated by Jeremy Northam. I don't know how to say it, but we'll get into that in a second. So these are part of the Chronicles of Narnia. They're books 5 and 6. I am doing a reread of them. because I'm trying to reread some of my favorite childhood books. I have read both of these before. There were 2 or 3 of the Narnia books that I hadn't read before, but I had read these before. As far as Derek Jacobi goes, this one originally is my favorite of the series that I had already read, besides The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I can't say too much about them because they're spoilery. They're kind of companions because they're all set in Narnia, and you get some of the characters kind of intermixed, but not necessarily like a series. I still prefer to read them in order. The narration was good. For all of these books, my favorite was the first 2 on audiobook. And that might have been because I was really excited to do this reread and to get into them. And then as I've continued on, I've gotten less and less excited. And it might just be because the other audiobooks I want to listen to are like piling up in my brain, but they're also written a very long time ago. They're more of a classic, and the narrators are kind of gearing them towards kids a little bit more. Like there's a little mouse in here called Rebekkah, and his voice was just kind of annoying, even though I liked him in the physical books. I don't know, the narrators are good. They got celebrities to narrate all of the books. So this one is narrated by Jeremy Northam, or however you pronounce it, which is Mr. Knightley from Emma, the Jane Austen movie with Gwyneth Paltrow. That's one of my all-time favorites. So that was really cool. But I think I'm just ready to kind of be done with the world. I do really like them overall. I'm giving them all like 4 or 5 stars just for nostalgic purposes. They're very well written. They're super magical. They're super adventure-y. If you want to follow the main characters through the whole thing, that's not going to happen. They kind of change throughout all the books, but you get a lot of different aspects there. What I really liked about The Silver Chair in particular is there's a lot of fairy and fae things happening. Like the story is kind of revolving around something that's fairy-esque, which is really, really neat. But if you guys want to learn more about Narnia, you should watch some of my other audiobook wrap-ups because I talk more about them there. Next up, I randomly listened to Two Princes of Summer by Nissa Letter, I think. This is a fae series. It's a very long series, like a 5-book series. Just the covers are so beautiful. I mean, look at this. It's so pretty. That's really what sucked me in, and it was like a 4.5, 5-hour audiobook. I was gardening and I wanted to listen to something that was short and quick, and I'm just in such a fairy mood now. Just this whole year has been like the year of the fairy. So this one's interesting. So there are 5 books in this series, and they all were written in like 2.5, 3 years, which going into that makes me really skeptical, because sometimes when authors do that, it's just to pump things out and make money. Sometimes they do it because they already have things written before they get published, so you can kind of keep that in mind. These are narrated by Jesse Vilinsky, or at least the first one is. I'm not sure about the rest of the series. There's only 3 available on audiobook for me on Hoopla. I'm definitely going to continue on with the series, but this is about 2 sisters who have lost their mother to a disease, mental health disease. She might have killed herself. I can't remember exactly. But they've lost their mom and they're grieving. And in this world, the fae actually feed on emotions. And so people with powerful emotions, usually negative emotions, feed the fae, and so they are kind of drawn to our main character in this story, and she gets kind of sucked into the world of fae where there are 2 princes and they're kind of competing for the throne, and she isn't really sure what's happening, but they promised her that she doesn't have to feel this tragic sadness anymore, so she goes to live with one of them at court, and just a bunch of things happen there. So there's the fairy court and, you know, battles and all kinds of craziness. So I thought it was good. These have really bad reviews, but if you like fairy books and you don't expect every book to be Cruel Prince and ACOTAR, I found it enjoyable. I liked the fairy court, I liked the battles, I liked the romance, I liked the descriptions of everything. I thought they were fun. I thought it was a fun fairy book to just dive into real quick for an afternoon. You can probably read this super fast too. So if you're just ready to gobble up as many fairy books as you can, definitely read this one. If you're expecting like an incredibly intense or well thought out or high fantasy fairy book, then this is probably not for you. But I really enjoyed it. I thought the romance was fun. I thought that the way that the story was played out was good. There are some trigger warnings in here for obviously like death of a parent, and also like some sexual abuse scenes. I don't know if there's the actual scenes in there, but they kind of talk about someone's past where there's some sexual abuse. But I enjoyed it. I'm excited to keep going on with the series. I probably will read them fairly slowly because I'm just throwing them in when I have a second, but they're all really short. They're really beautiful covers. I wish they came out in hardback because I would own this book because I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It was a solid like 3.5 star book. Nothing like overly special, but I'm in a fairy mood, so it satisfied that need. Next up, I listened to Crimson Bound by Rosamund Hodge. I did it! I don't know why I waited so long. So this is a kind of companion to Cruel Beauty, but not really. So it's set in the same kind of world as Cruel Beauty, but it really has no connection to Cruel Beauty, which is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. This is technically a Little Red Riding Hood retelling, but again, very minimal on that. I think Rosamund Hodge is one of my new favorite authors of all time. Her combined with Elizabeth Knoweldon, who narrates these audiobooks, these two, is just breathtaking. Her writing style is so beautiful. Her characters are so fleshed out. The romances are just so rich and romantic and intense and oh, so good. And then she does so many things with lore and myths, and she even creates her own like mythical stories and world, and it will just suck you in and you don't want to leave. And I was just blown away with how much I loved this book. Even though I really loved Cruel Beauty, I adored this. Elizabeth Knoweldon's narration, she's so like soothing and romantic and whimsical, and it's not boring, but she's like takes her time, and oh, I love it. I can't wait to listen to more from her. She just blows me away. She just immediately like relaxes me, even if it's like an intense scene. We have our lead character, Rochelle, who when she was 15 started training with her aunt to protect the village from dark magic. So I don't want to give away too much because I kind of liked not knowing anything. This has an intense, dark, creepy forest. It has kind of a fae aspect if you want to put it that way, but there's like these dark, creepy, shadowy type creatures and intense. You have these people called the Forest-born or the Forest-bound, or I don't know. There's all of these different creatures and mythical things and magical things and rules and systems, and but it's not hard to follow. It's so good. And the romance in here, oh my god, it's one of my all-time favorites. I loved it so much. There's even like humor in here and it's funny, and Rochelle is super badass and she's really smart and she's intense and she's like sassy and she's fights things and she has to have a legendary sword, and oh, I could have been in this world for forever. I love it. I cannot wait to read her next book, which is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and there's 2 or 3 books in that series. Can't wait. I'm so excited. I think Rosamund Hodge is severely underrated here on book 2. I loved it so much. If you like magical forests or any kind of small fae aspect, and oh, I don't know, it's just, it's amazing. It's so dang good. So good. Sorry guys, it's getting dark. I'm trying to film before the sun goes down. And the last books that I listened to in March are Restore Me by Tahara Mafi and also Defy Me right here, but we'll just hold up Restore Me for now. So this was a reread for me. This is part of the Shad and Ree series. I reread all of these, so I talked about these in the last 1 or 2 wrap-ups. I technically finished Defy Me on like April 3rd, but I wanted to talk about it here while it was really fresh in my brain. This one's narrated by Kate Simses and James something. He'll be down here for you guys to see. And then Defy Me is Kate Simses and 2 other guys, because there are 3 perspectives in Defy Me. So can't say too much because it's continuation of a series, but I read this book in like 1.5 days last year and I listened to it in 1 day this year. I just love this series so much. I'm obsessed with the series and the characters. This has reached like a high fangirl level for me personally, like a Twilight, Hunger Games, I don't know, new obsession type of level for me. I'm so completely obsessed with this series, and so I feel like my opinion is biased because I'm just gonna love it no matter what comes out. But 5 stars for Defy Me. I just can't. I love the characters so much. And this new part of the series, so Defy Me took like a wild roller coaster turn that I was not expecting. And it basically undid everything from the first 3 books and turns it on their heads. And like everything you thought you knew about the world and the characters is basically wrong, which I think is gonna really piss some people off. I feel like these last 2 books are gonna get massive levels of love or massive levels of hate just because how much the series is changing from what we like originally know. I just love it because I love the characters and I'm just along for the ride. Some of the things were a little bit like too far-fetched. I felt like they were unnecessary, but I don't know. I'm like all in. I'm so obsessed with them. I'm so mad I have to wait a year for the last book. I don't even understand how she's gonna wrap it up with one more book, because she just added so many things, and I don't think she's gonna be able to do it. It's just too intense. But I love them so much. Shatter Me, I'm Shatter Me, like trash all the way. I can't get enough of it. And they were really, really good on audiobook. I didn't like Kate Simses at first, but the more I listened to them, the more I liked her and the more I was like all about it. And I honestly just want to listen to them again because I like them that much. So yeah, 5 stars for both of these books. Okay, you guys, it is getting dark and those are all of the audiobooks that I listened to in March. So I am going to quickly wrap this up and hope I can get a thumbnail somewhere out of this video. But let me know if you guys like audiobooks, if you listen to anything that you enjoy. I'll link my audiobook playlist up here that you guys can listen to if you check it out. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and sometimes on the weekends. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys next time on the bright side. Bye!